Another day, another vlog, and I think I have some updates. So, to start off, I did another two discovery calls. And if you don't know what discovery call is, it's mainly you go find your initial customer that you think that he's the target customer, and you just have some sort of a casual conversation about like their day. And people love to tell stories. Are they like, what kind of problems do they face in day to day? What kind of solutions, workarounds they do? What kind of tools do they use? And I'm now certain that I will pivot from Perceptor. That's 99%, I'm sure of it. So that is not a bad thing. And it's very humbling experience as a founder to say that maybe there is nothing there and you just move on to what's next. Slack, Instagram, a lot of companies actually do that. And there's nothing bad in this. So what I'm going to do is I was promising myself that Perceptor is going to be open source, and I'll continue on that path. I want to properly document it. I want to properly, even I might on this channel do some technical deep dives into what I did in Perceptor because I really loved the technical challenge of it. And so someone like finds my trail at some point in their lives or decide like continue on this path, or at least they've learned something interesting and they can use it in their day to day. So I think that that's how I'll have, like the last chapter for this phase. And as I said, like in the previous video, I was doing a lot of exercise about who do I want to serve and what do I want to do. So that's the second part, which is I kind of understand now what do I want, and that's great. Which is I find myself that I'm the guy that likes to connect things together. I really like the idea of finding clarity and finding order in chaos. So that theme, if you apply to anything, it would start to make sense. So for example, Perceptor, what I was doing is like I was watching session replays and I trying to make sense of all of these data so that you could take a precise action. So all the ideas and the things that comes to me for like the people that I want to serve revolves around that idea. Depends on the nature of their work. So it starts to make sense to me that this is who I am. This is what I would like to do. But the next question is, who do I want to serve? And why them, and how I'm going to move forward. I did initially around 25 customers that I would like to serve, but I think I filtered around top three, and I think all of them revolve around the same space. It's non-technical founders who don't have any expertise in tech, and early stage CTOs, and AI engineers in general. I think they all revolve around the same space. And I've been doing a lot of research about them. So for example, like the non-early stage, non-technical startup founder, they don't know what the tech is, what they're doing with tech. And I throughout like my career, I realized that they are being deceived by a lot of like freelancers or agencies who just like want to take their money, and they end up with a very shitty product. So maybe there's something there that could replace like sort of a technical co-pilot which translates everything from tech to their knowledge so that they understand everything exactly what's going on without having to have a CTO. Because I know a lot of non-technical founders who spend at least a year or 2 years just trying to find someone technical who they can trust, or they end up outsourcing tech or hiring just someone to do the tech, and it ends up being in a very bad place. And it's a very known story, to say the least. So that's a problem. Maybe I'll pursue this. For the others, like the early stage CTOs, I think they're suffering a lot from regulation and not knowing like it's still like the idea is still like there. I can speak to it if I can speak about it in the next videos if it starts to click. And for AI engineers, like the AI itself, like how it's getting deployed and is it secure enough, all of that, it's still early on. But the problem with this, it's very competitive, which is very hard. It makes it a very hard business to grow. So that's like I think I'm revolving around the same space. Or like the problem with all of these are they are all living in the software industry, and software industry by itself is very lucrative, but it's very hard to sell to, and because all the eyes are there. So, by contrast, on the other hand, if you find someone non technical, let's say an accountant, who don't know anything about AI and they're still working with Excel and all of that, which is great because Excel is still flexible and still like conquering that market, but it's becoming a legacy software. So if there is something you can do there, sort of like the clarity and like the same concept I can do there, where I could make their lives easier, and it will be very easy to impress them. Apart from like the other crowd, because the other crowd is up to date and they're the early adapters and the early Jaegers, as they So these like this is the critical decision that I need to take. And from like my experience and like from like the books I read, it shouldn't be that big of a deal because you can always pivot. But from the other hand, it is a big of a deal because it takes a tool on you. And if you don't do this correctly, there's effort and time and even money is spent. So that's why I'm taking a lot now. I know that I now I'm not taking a lot of execution, but this phase, I want to show you how real it is, how hard it takes. That you may get stuck in this phase for a long time. And that doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. That doesn't mean that you are not meant for this or like that you're a failure or anything like that. It just mean that this phase is hard. And people tend to glorify like when you find something and you grow and you scale and unicorn and all of that, but 99% of founders are suffering in this phase. And I can almost guarantee you that it's just like no one talks about it. No one talks about how hard it is, how mind consuming it is. And that's not a bad thing. It's just how real the phase is. I might get out of this in the next week, might get out of it in the next 6 months, in the next years. I don't know. That's how hard it is. But what you need to do is clarity, making sure that you're not going in loops. Document. Maybe if you're interested, I can like share the sheets, or like I can try to make this more educational, more than it's just a vlog. Let me know in the comments. But yeah, like that's how I'm trying to navigate this space until I find something to build. And see you in the next week.